1997. The Price of Crimea. Titanic and the Tyson Bite. Introduction. Imagine a world where a Hollywood movie budget is twice as large as the cost of renting a strategic nuclear naval base for an entire year. 1997. While James Cameron was spending $200 million to sink a replica of the Titanic, a real-life drama was unfolding in Eastern Europe. For just half that price, $97,750,000, Russia secured its military presence in the Black Sea for decades to come. Welcome to the year when everything was for sale, but no one knew the true price. From the screaming crowds at a Prodigy concert in Kyiv to the silent destruction of the world's most powerful nuclear bombers under the watch of American engineers. Today, we break down the deal with the devil that was signed in ink, gold, and gas. Why did a movie about a sinking ship cost more than the future of a nation? Let's find out. 1. Geopolitics. The NATO rejection. In 1997, at the Madrid summit, the fate of Europe was being decided. Ukraine signed a charter with NATO, but the doors of the alliance were slammed shut right in its face. Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary were officially invited, while Ukraine was left in the gray zone. Washington was playing the Russia first game, fearing it might destabilize Yeltsin's regime. But while politicians were smiling at summits, a black year arrived in the Ukrainian city of Prilupki. The day came when the last Ukrainian White Swan, the Tu-160 strategic bomber, met the American guillotine. The insane numbers. Building a single Tu-160 cost nearly $300 million. It was a masterpiece of engineering, capable of delivering nuclear death to other continents. But then came the American engineers with giant hydraulic shears. The U.S. spent just $1 million to scrap a single machine, turning a $300 million masterpiece into $5,000 worth of aluminum scrap. Think about this. The United States technically and cold-bloodedly destroyed the strategic fleet of its main competitor right on its own soil, on the soil of Ukraine. Washington paid for the death of these machines because it was cheaper to kill them in Prilupki than to ever face them in their own skies. It was the boldest investment in U.S. history. Total liquidation of a nuclear threat for the price of a used business jet. Pilots left the cockpits with tears in their eyes, knowing their country was being disarmed for pennies. 2. Cultural storm. 1997 was the year Western capitalism finally hacked the minds of millions. It was a total advertising blitzkrieg. In June 1997, something unthinkable happened in Kyiv's Maidan, a concert by the Prodigy. 250,000 people, 250,000. The police in their old Soviet uniforms had no idea how to contain that energy. It wasn't just a concert. It was the explosion of the Iron Curtain to a heavy electronic beat. At the same time, Pepsi and Coca-Cola launched an aggressive market takeover. Billboards covered the peeling facades of old buildings. In 1997, Ukraine and Russia officially became the Pepsi generation. While Netflix was being founded in the US, pirate video markets in the East were booming with Titanic tapes, where every actor was voiced by a single nasal-voiced translator. 3. George Soros, pirate or philanthropist? 1997 was the peak of influence for George Soros's Renaissance Foundation. In Ukraine, he poured about $15 million into science and education. Teachers and scientists earning $50 a month suddenly saw grants of $501,000. But behind this generosity was a cold calculation. Along with the checks came a complete brain inventory. Soros created detailed databases of the best specialists. Many were offered jobs and a move to the West. It was a soft deportation of intellect. The U.S. was taking the best minds for next to nothing. The currency scandal. While he was praised in Kyiv, on the other side of the world, Soros showed his true face. In 1997, the Asian financial crisis broke out. Soros launched an aggressive attack on Malaysia's currency, the ringgit. He collapsed the economy of an entire region, making billions in the process. The Prime Minister of Malaysia called Soros a villain and an idiot on live television, accusing him of destroying countries for fun and profit. People began to realize if he could bring the Asian tigers to their knees, buying the loyalty of the future elites in the East was just a matter of time. They called him the man who bought a country for the price of a New York lunch. 4. The Crimean Knot. On May 28, 1997, the Big Treaty was signed. This wasn't just a transfer of buildings, it was the division of a massive military fist built over decades. To give you a sense of scale, at that time, more than 525 warships and support vessels were based in Crimea. Russia took the lion's share, 81.7%, while Ukraine received only 18.3%. But the scariest thing for NATO was hiding underwater. Sevastopol and the secret docks of Balaclava, carved into the cliffs, hid dozens of submarines. These were diesel-electric subs, known as black holes, for their absolute silence. The base in Crimea allowed these boats to stealthily control the entire Mediterranean. The price. Renting this colossal power cost just $97,750,000 a year. Ukraine never saw this money in cash. It was simply deducted from their gas debt. Ukraine had accumulated a debt of over $1 billion, and Crimea became a hostage to that hole. Washington remained silent. They cared about stable gas supplies, and they considered Ukraine's sovereignty in Crimea an acceptable loss. Blood and sports. 1997 was a year of true gladiatorial battles. November 5, 1997, Camp Nou Stadium. 75,000 shocked Spaniards watched in dead silence as the boys from Kiev, Shevchenko and Rebrov, tore FC Barcelona to shreds with a 4-0 score. Andriy Shevchenko scored a hat-trick in a single half. It was a shout to the whole world. We are here, we exist, and we are the best. At the same time in Las Vegas, the most scandalous moment in boxing history occurred. Mike Tyson bit off a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear. A $3 million fine and a lost license. It was the most expensive bite in history. And in that same year, the legendary Muhammad Ali arrived in Kiev. The greatest was already gravely ill, but his visit was seen as a blessing. He signed autographs, hugged children, and recognized Ukraine as a great sporting nation. It was a moment of absolute unity, giving people hope amidst the ruins of the 90s. 6. Europe and tragedies. Europe in 1997 was the epicenter of mysticism and fear of the future. August 31st, Paris. The death of Princess Diana in the Alma Tunnel. The world wept. But behind the flowers was hard politics. Diana was an active campaigner against landmines, and the stockpiles in the East were overflowing with these weapons. Her death sparked thousands of conspiracy theories about intelligence services. And in February 1997, the first mammal was cloned in Britain, Dolly the sheep. The world was gripped by the fear of playing God. While Bill Clinton banned federal funding for such experiments, rumors spread that the wealthy elite wanted to move secret labs to the gray zones of the post-Soviet world. Places where there were no laws, but plenty of brilliant scientists ready to conduct forbidden experiments for $100. 7. The final calculation. Now let's put politics aside and just look at the math. How cheaply was the fate of nations sold in 1997? Think about it. One Mike Tyson fight, the one where he bit Holyfield's ear, brought him $30 million in just 9 minutes. That means 3 Tyson fights were worth more than a year's rent for all of Crimea, with all its secret bases and its entire fleet. Russia paid $97,750,000 a year for Sevastopol. In 1997, that could buy you only 600 apartments in Manhattan. An entire peninsula with hundreds of warships for the price of a few luxury skyscrapers in New York. But the biggest absurdity was in Hollywood. James Cameron spent $200 million to film Titanic. That is twice the cost of maintaining Russia's entire Black Sea fleet in Crimea for a whole year. While the world watched a sinking movie prop, real naval power was being rented out for pennies. And while the Titanic budget was breaking records, on the other side of the world, for $10,000, a sum 20,000 times smaller, Alexei Balabanov was filming Brat. Danila Bagrov's sweater became the answer to Western glamour. Where is the power, brother? Versus, I'm the king of the world! It was a cultural rift between the wealthy West and the hungry East. It was a year of insane contrasts. When the US paid $1 million to scrap a plane worth $300 million, and a Ukrainian engineer was trying to survive on a salary of $65 a month. In that same May of 1997, the Deep Blue computer defeated Garry Kasparov. It was a sign. The era of pure human intellect was over. The era of AI had begun. Conclusion: 1997 was a true point of no return. A time when future of countries was traded for gas debts, and Hollywood fiction cost more than real nuclear power. But this is only the beginning. We continue our journey through the footsteps of the 90s, exploring great events and hidden intrigues. It only gets more interesting from here as every year brings us closer to the world we see today. Did you like this breakdown? Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss the story of the next year. Where is the power? The power is in the truth. See you in 1998.